It's election day, and I'm voting that we don't talk Lakers, but sometimes with voting, you don't get your way. Run It Back starts now.
Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, then run it back. Run it up.
Welcome and good morning, everyone. Look who's here. Stadium Insider Shams Charania, Chandler Parsons, Eddie G. And we're going to get started because we have so much to do. Last night, I found myself loving the format. And Chandler, it was only your second game as a fan, right? Since you stopped playing. How about the ending of that Clippers game, dude?
Dang, you're going right to it, huh? Yeah, unfortunately, it was my second game ever. I went and saw Jamal Mosley last year, and I went and saw JB Bickerstaff, my two guys this year. Cavs up 10 or 11, 3 minutes to go. I'm giving my shout outs to them, walking out, dapping up the coaching staff to look and see that they lost. And I missed the whole game. I'm used to the Dodger Stadium. I got to get out of there. The traffic is crazy, and I got burned. So I learned my lesson. I will stay the complete game next time.
Yeah, especially NBA. I get Dodger Stadium. But the NBA, you can never leave. The Heat fans back in the day, I think we all learned a lesson from them. And that was just one of the 15 games that was going on last night. And it was so full of action. But we, of course, we got to start with Kyrie, right? Because Shams, you've got news that he's supposed to meet with Adam Silver today. What do you know about that?
Yeah, Kyrie Irving is meeting with Adam Silver right now, actually, from what I'm told. And so we'll see what type of work they do to try to move toward a resolution. But he hasn't played. He ends his suspension on Saturday. So technically, he could play as soon as Sunday. I don't know if that's feasible right now. We know the list of 6 action items that the Nets want Kyrie Irving to accomplish before stepping back on the court, which ends in a meeting with Joe Tsai. And those two, to my knowledge, haven't communicated. So it's been just under 2 weeks since his tweet of that movie. It's been 5 days since his apology, and it remains to be seen if he joins the team. But what was curious to see in the last 24 hours was Jaylen Brown came out in the Boston Globe and talked about how the NBPA is going to appeal or could appeal his suspension and the terms and conditions that the Nets have laid out to him for his return, as well as saying that the NBPA doesn't believe that the conditions laid out are responsible or fair for Kyrie Irving. So 2 interesting developments in the last 24 hours, and one of which we'll see play out in terms of Kyrie Irving's meeting with Adam Silver.
Chandler, what do you think? I mean, look, we thought the list was weird, right? It's too much subjectivity. There's zero way to sort of figure out what someone thinks or doesn't think. And then it's all left to one guy, which felt awkward from the beginning, Chandler. But what do you think?
You know what it is for Kyrie? It's emasculating. It's embarrassing. But you know what? So is the things that he's been doing. So yeah, I understand where Jaylen's coming from. We've all been cracking jokes on it. How right now he's in the principal's office meeting so he can go play recess. Like that's what it feels like with this petty list. But at the end of the day, it's not that extreme of a list. Clearly, he needs it, and I think he's a hooper and his team is struggling, he's making a lot of money. The Nets clearly need him. Just do the list, meet with the owner, meet with Adam, and put this behind you as quick as you possibly can to try and salvage as much as you can of this season, because it's going just about as bad for Brooklyn as it could, and this is something that he can salvage and he can kind of put in his past by doing these petty, funny tasks. But I think for me, he's just embarrassing. You know, when he comes back and plays, it's like everyone knows he completed the list once he plays, right? So I think that's where it's silly, but he needs to just do it and reach the requirements and get back out there and hoop and do what he does.
Yeah, I think I'm not surprised at all to see Jaylen Brown speak up. He just missed his own bit of controversy a few weeks back when he almost got wrapped into the Kanye West situation as well before leaving Donda Sports eventually and admonishing Kanye publicly. He's been outspoken his entire career. He's kind of been similar to Kyrie, and then his role with the Players Association that he clearly takes seriously. It's not surprising to hear him speak out. At some point, Kyrie will have to make some sort of retribution, whether it's this list of 6 items or whether it's some other public show. It's going to have to happen before he gets on the court, whether the NBPA wants to speak up or not. We had CJ McCollum kind of speak against Kyrie. We had LeBron pretty much outright disdain towards what Kyrie did. So it's going to be interesting. There's a lot of push and pull. I agree with Chandler in that, like, yeah, when he gets in the court, we're going to know he did something. He'll have to. There's no way around it. Just what it is, I guess, is in the air. And we'll see if the conversation with Adam Silver today makes any difference. The last 2 times he's spoken publicly on any of these matters have made things much, much worse. So who knows?
The problem is too, as soon as he completes these tasks, is he really going to personally like change? Is he going to become this new person, or is he just doing it just to do it to get back on the floor? So like, if I'm Kyrie Irving, just do it, because no one's really going to buy that you like this whole new person anyway. So if you miss basketball and you want to play, just do the 6 things.
This reminds me of when I snuck out of the house and my dad made me write a list about 10 things that could have happened by sneaking out of the house. And I wrote the most sarcastic list of 10 things. And did I learn anything? No, I didn't. It was patronizing and weird. And there was no actual punishment. It's a bunch of lip service. And I think it's interesting that we went from, all right, Kyrie, what you did is wrong. And you just need to apologize for that, to this weird list that is now sort of turning people against those that are trying to enforce the punishment. This is the most bizarro world story. And in all of this, what seems to not be talking about, we need to talk about, is the fact that the team is 4-7, losing to the Mavs. More importantly, can they turn this thing around? Eddie, I got to start with you, because this is, you go to these games, you see them up close and personal. Is this turnaroundable?
Well, they look like a much better team. And what I'll give them credit for is, in the middle of this storm of just controversy between Kyrie, Steve Nash getting fired, Ime Udoka maybe getting hired, and just everything else around it, they've banded together, they've bit down, they've gotten better defensively, even without Kyrie and with a hobbled Ben. They've won 3 of their last 4. So yeah, to say they lost last night is, yeah, they did. They lost a tough game. Kevin missed a huge free throw. He's pissed, as you would expect him to be. Right. But they played better in the last week, and they've won 3 of their last 4. They have a winnable game coming up Wednesday against the Knicks, and then they go on a West Coast trip. This is a team that's kind of rallied on the road so far this season. They've done as well as could be expected. Jacques Vaughn is doing well. He's got them prepared. He's got them working hard. It's to the point where people are openly wondering, like, yo, did he just secure the job this week? I think they're trending up despite all of these things.
Interesting. Guys, the question has to be asked. Do they need Kyrie back? I know it's crazy to say that out loud, but I think it's a fair question, Chandler. Do they need Kyrie back?
I mean, I think so. I think any team would, want a sane, changed Kyrie Irving off the court. But yeah, I mean, on the court, when he's played this year, he's a top 3-point guard. He can do everything on the floor. He's making shots. He's averaging crazy numbers. He's an absolute stud on the court. It's unfortunate that all this distractions is coming with it, but it's just crazy to me to think that like KD this summer asking for, someone to get fired and all this drama, and now he's the most stable part of that organization right now, and he's balling and he's doing it. He missed a free throw last night. Like, so what? Like, that's not what lost him the game. But it's just crazy that this is the situation that they find themselves in, with the guy that wanted out, or the guy that wanted the coach and GM fire. Now he's the one kind of carrying the load while Kyrie's handling his stuff. So I think it's just, the sooner they put this Kyrie Irving stuff behind them and move forward, it's only going to help the team, because this thing lingering is no bueno.
They could have used him down the stretch last night, though, right? Like, when they needed a bucket, doubt. It's like KD was the one guy that they could rely upon, and he was getting double, triple teamed at times. So that's why you have a guy like Kyrie Irving. It's just unfortunate with what's transpired over the last couple of weeks, and him and the team kind of phasing each other out, and him basically being banished away from the team again, and putting himself back in a position where he's re-entering the team. But the hope is that when he does come back, it'll be with the focus level he started the year off with, because he started the year off, 30-point games every night. And then he had that tough game against Chicago, and then he's been gone ever since. So they need him back. When you talk to people around the Nets, they know they can't even come close to competing for anything in the Eastern Conference without Kyrie Irving. Yeah,
no disrespect to Sumner, but I'd rather have Kyrie Irving starting at point guard than Sumner.
I was just going to say, it's kind of crazy. A team with Ben Simmons and Kyrie Irving on the roster badly needs a point guard right now. You see that late in the game yesterday. They won the night before in Charlotte because they had a 23-7 run to finish that game off. They needed another one yesterday. the double teams and Kevin, he's doing a good job orchestrating, working his way through them, but they need to do a better job on the backside of those attacking. And that's where Kyrie could be huge for them and just isn't right now. They need somebody to help set the table, help get that offense going. Because when Kevin is going to get doubled like that, and that's why he got his tech, because he was arguing with Theo Pinson about being doubled, and Theo told him he had to be Magic Johnson. They're going to have to capitalize on the other end, playing 4 versus 3, and they just weren't late in the game, and that's what it came down to. And then the missed free throw. I'm gonna give him crap for the missed free throw.
Okay,
even though he's
fair.
upset his own self. Chandler's right. That's not the only reason they lost the game, but you would love to have made that free throw. You made 60 something in a row before that.
You know what? You're fair and balanced, and I appreciate that. He is Eastern Conference Player of the Year amid all of this junk that's going on. He's the one that's trying to figure things out. You guys want to move on? Are we done talking about the Nets? Like, yes.
We're going to be talking about the Nets all year long.
I know. Yay. They're this year's Lakers. How fun. But we can't talk Warriors because on the other side of the country, this team they barely won. They barely beat the Kings, and it was on a very controversial no call in the final seconds, which has gotten Mike Brown once again livid. Okay. Kevin Huerter there thinking that should have been a foul, possible 3-point play. Guys, what do we think? That the no call on Clay, was it a good call or no? Chandler.
No, that's 1,000% a foul. Not only is he pushing him, not only is he pushing him with his left hand, he also then hits his elbow as he's shooting. That should 1,000% be 3 free throws. This is why, by the way, when teams blow their challenge early on, it pisses me off, because if you think there's any chance it's going to be a close game, you have to save your challenge for something like this. And this is a foul. And Kevin Huerter, by the way, is cash from the free throw line. So this is most likely going to overtime after this no call. But yeah, once this report comes out, this is a dead foul.
And again, because they keep getting these sort of last 2-minute reports, and they seem to be on the losing end of that every time. But what, if you're the Kings, are you buying what Mike Brown said, that this is just the lack of respect for Sacramento as a whole? Eddie?
Yeah, as a Sacramento native, I'll say yeah. like, we're talking about a team that pretty much was screwed out of a championship in 2002. It's all but been admitted. I'll go with Mike Brown here. I'll buy that. That was a pretty clear foul live. The ref is standing right there. I'm not exactly sure what he's seen. I'm captain. The NFL game cannot end with a pass interference call. But, when you hit a guy on his hip and his shooting arm, shooting for the game, yeah, we got to put him at the line. I'm sorry. He might have missed, like Kevin. We don't know, but we have to at least give him the chance. But let me say this, though. The Kings blew that game, the possession before as well, letting 20 seconds tick off the clock for, I have no idea what reason, but they let Steph just hold the ball in the corner. There's no 5-second call. This isn't high school. I don't know what they were expecting was going to happen. It was on next to their bench, too. So maybe we didn't give the Kings enough credit for their tank ability, because that was insane to watch live. They were just going to let Steph hold the ball till the clock went out. It was weird.
You know what's crazy is all season long I've been saying, let's not panic about the Warriors. They're getting these young guys all this experience, and now they win, and I'm concerned.
Thank you.
These games they've been losing, I'm like, it's not that big of a deal. But now last night kind of made me feel weird about them. It's like you got the Kings at home where you almost smoked it on a horrible defensive play at the end. And they gave you every single reason to win that game last night, and you barely squeaked one out.
Barely.
It's the beginning of the season still, but man, I would like to see them kind of start hitting their stride, because they don't look so hot.
Well, I think one issue for them early this year is they don't really have what they thought they had in James Wiseman. And he's been through a lot so early in his career, but they thought he would be pushing Kevon Looney to be the starting center. They thought at bare minimum he'd be the backup and someone that they can rely on. His plus minuses are way out of whack when he's playing with Steph Curry, which is insane, because usually Steph Curry makes everyone around him better, but it seems like those two guys aren't a good fit when they're on the floor together. And now he's totally out of the rotation for the foreseeable future. So I think they're already dealing with a little bit of adversity. How do they go from here will be interesting. They're clearly relying a lot on the young guys. Jonathan Kuminga. We saw Anthony Lamb, who's on a two-way. He was getting some time last night and over the last couple of games. So they're dealing with the rotational issues as well, really, really early in the year.
Yeah,
Chandler,
to pile on just a little bit.
No,
They needed 47 points from Steph last night to win that game. They almost needed 60. Jordan Poole had 2 points last night. It was 1 for 4 from the floor. He has not played up to that contract so far. We can say it's the drama, it's whatever is going on. But, I mean, he's been a streaky shooter in his career anyway. But, yeah, that's a little concerning to go out there and score 2 points. Like you said, they're not getting anything from Weissman. Michael Green, who was one of their, I guess, bigger offseason pickups, has been a negative for them. It is concerning. It's funny the way Chandler put it, but it's right. They shouldn't have needed this at home to win this game. And 47 from Steph, like,
you can't do that every
Steph's
night.
Numbers, he's been bonkers all season long. The problem is he's leading them in everything, rebounding, assists. Right. So Steph needs help. I hate that phrase, but he's gonna need some help out there.
Not sustainable. And in Jordan Poole's defense, he did show up with a puppy that was very cute. So I do think that should have been worth something more. Other news, guys, the Bucks. I forgot who had Atlanta being the team that was finally going to be the ones that took down the Bucks. Was that you two? That was both Chandler and Eddie? Okay, fair enough. Now they're Trey sat out of this one, but the question's quite simple. And look, is this going to be an overreaction? Maybe, but this is sort of where we are. We're only 10% through the season. But do the Hawks have enough to make a run in the Eastern Conference? I'm not saying to take out the Bucks in the long run, but to make a run. Chandler, you want to start?
I think they are a good team. I think they added a great piece with DeJounte Murray. Can they beat the Bucks or the Celtics 4 times in a series? I don't see it, but they can compete. And Trae Young is the closest thing that Steph Curry this league has. DeJounte Murray is a great addition. John Collins is only getting better. I love DeAndre Hunter. I think he's becoming one of the best two-way players in the league. I think they're fun to watch. They shoot the ball. They have size. They have depth. Like I said, I don't think they're a top tier team, but yeah, once they get in the playoffs and once they hopefully can get home court advantage, if they meet one of those teams in the finals, who knows what happens? But they're playing well, and to beat that team without Trae Young is huge for them.
Last night's a great example of why they're a dark horse by adding DeJounte Murray. Michelle, watching him in San Antonio, maybe a lot of people don't realize how great he is, both as a defender and somebody who can create on offense. I know nowadays we only look at guys' 3-point percentage, trying to figure out what they can do on offense. He's a great slasher. He can shoot a little bit better than that percentage says, and he can run an offense. He can have nights like this where, yes, Trey could have a night off, a literal night off, and he can carry against a great team. I think they have a lot of upside over there. They are just 2 years removed from the conference finals. They played the Bucks really tight. Trey missed the game. Giannis missed the game. It was a weird series. But they can compete with everybody. They also have a roster that's ready-made if they want to make some spring for a big trade. They don't have many picks, but they have guys like DeAndre Hunter or like John Collins or Clint Capella who are on salaries that are very tradable and can be put together to get something nice if they so choose to. But they should be in no rush. They got a lot of good pieces there right now.
Well, I'm curious from Chandler's perspective. It's like, I'm not saying they're better without Trae Young, but they just play totally different with Trae Young. The ball moves a lot more. Obviously, you're not as reliant on a guy like Trae Young, so you have no choice. But, I mean, you were there for a little bit, a little cup of coffee. Like, what's the difference between playing with a guy like that versus when he's out and you have to really adjust?
It's similar to James Harden in Houston. It's Trey's usage rate, and he has the ball in his hands. Sometimes the offense can get bogged down, and sometimes it gets stagnant. There's no real movement because you have Trey, who's so good handling the ball. He's so good in ISO, pick and roll. He's throwing lobs. He's shooting. Sometimes when he takes these 35-footers, it's deflating to your offense unless it goes in. When it goes in, it's great. The crowd gets going. It's fun and it's exciting. But sometimes you're better off, not better off because Trey is unbelievable, but sometimes your offense, your movement, everybody touching the ball, everybody just feels more involved and just happier because they're getting touches and they're getting looks that they usually don't when the star player is playing.
You see that in Philly. Philly won a game last night without James. I watched it happen last year in Brooklyn when James would get hurt. It's just a different style of ball next to that guy. Trey is great, but we've all been there. We've all played basketball. If there's a guy on our team that's just holding the ball, bouncing it at the gym, you're like, yo, I don't even want to run with this guy next game. Unless he's killing and you're having fun, but it's not always going to be killing like that.
That's how it goes. Like Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey, these guys are low-key hyped when James Harden's out. Like Jordan Poole is hyped when Steph Curry's not playing. This is their chance to show like I can do more. And sometimes they take advantage of it. Sometimes you get exposed. Like, damn, I need him back quick.
That's humbling.
But it's as a player, you kind of like you get this boost of confidence when the main top guys are out, and then you are now that top guy. And sometimes it works, and sometimes now the defense is focused on you, and it isn't too sweet.
Switching gears, because I think before the whole giant roster of games started last night, this one had the potential to be the best, Celtics Grizzlies, and it was not disappointing at all. The Celtics with the defense just on display. Ja Morant, 3 points, 1 of 6 shooting in the fourth. And it wasn't just Jason Tatum, although he was a huge part of it. Everybody at some point was defending him, but are they good enough? Are you seeing enough defensively that they can just switch that thing on and off and really go for it? Chandler, what are you seeing from this Celtics squad?
I mean, yeah, they got it all. I mean, those two guys, I keep saying Tatum and Brown, they have taken that next step as one of the best, if not the best duos in the league. And they have interchangeable pieces. They got guys. I love guys like Grant Williams who can do it all. He can switch 1 through 5. He's not going to kill you with points or hurt you offensively that much, but he's going to do it all for them. And I love the addition to Malcolm Brogdon. He's such a solid piece that like the Nets would die for right now, that just keeps it steady, that initiates the offense. That's that floor general where it's not just getting crazy ISOs and all these one-on-one sets. He's that vet. He's that Tyus Jones for them. He gets them all in the right place. And it's not just all these ISOs with their 2 stars. They have run a great offense. Marcus Smart is obviously unbelievably defensively and knocking down shots. They can switch 1 through 5. They got bigs that can move their feet. I love them. It looks like they're playing, they're having fun, they're playing hard, and Missoula's got them rocking right now. And those 2 kids have taken that leap to start them.
Yeah, I mean, Brogdon didn't shoot it that well last night, but he had 10 rebounds, he had 4 assists. He's a steadying hand on offense and defense. They just know what they're doing out there, which seems like an oversimplification, but they do. One thing I always say about this Celtics team and why I wasn't really concerned with them in the playoffs last year was they've been doing this since they were babies. Since Jason Tatum got to this league, and he's been doing it with Brad Stevens, with Marcus Smart, and with Jaylen Brown. They've been doing it together since they got to this league. They played big games. They played the biggest games. They played Game 7 with the GOAT. They've played on the road against the new GOAT and Steph. Like they've done all of that. They're always prepared. They're never rattled. Jason Tatum is elevating. I mean, this is a great team. This is exactly what we assumed this team would be, and that's without Rob Williams thus far. He's only going to make them better. They're going to be able to bring him back slower and slower now, let him get as healthy as he can be, and it's just going to elevate for them after, maybe the All-Star break, however long they want to take.
All right, this is, we have to make lists. Otherwise, none of this is valid. But Jason Tatum, where do you put him right now in the league? Top 5? Shams, do you put him top 5?
I mean, I feel like the top 5 is so interchangeable. It could be every night it's somewhat different. But I think what makes Boston so unique, and I think it speaks to what Eddie just said, is that they're really self-starters. They're self-leaders. Like, they go from Ime Udoka, who all those players love, to Joe Mazzulla, first-time coach. Was he 34 years old? And, like, I'm sure Joe Mazzulla's standpoint, and what I've heard internally, is like he's not going to overstep as well. He's there to aid them and support them and guide them. But there's also a level of leeway that those guys have all earned where they're not coaching themselves, but they're really self-starters in a lot of ways. And it's not easy to find in the league.
Top 5, Eddie?
Top 5. Top 5 is tough. So I feel like it's more like a top 8. But you look at the series last year against KD, and you think Tatum has reached KD. I still personally think KD is better than Jason Tatum. And you still got guys like Giannis, and you still got Steph Curry. I like KD, but you know what? There's room there because Joel Embiid's not playing like a top 5 player this year either. So there's definitely room there. But with the rise of guys like Ja and Jokic, who somehow never even ends up in the conversation,
right?
He's scratching the surface for sure. I don't know if I'd quite put him there yet, but he has gotten a lot better. He's gotten a lot stronger, and he's an absolute stud.
Yeah, he's getting close to it. I mean, with guys like LeBron with their slippage, Joel's a good mention, James as well. He's right around there, and he played against Ja last night in Ja's gym, and he was the best player on the court. by a good little margin. And what he does on defense, I think, is what separates him.
We got to talk about the young dudes. Rockets played the Magic last night. Houston winning. Paolo Banchero, 30 points. Jalen Green, 34 points. Of course, being a number 1, number 2 pick in the last couple seasons. So you're a GM and you've got to build your team around one of these two gentlemen. Shams, who are you building it around?
You guys.
Yeah, I know. Go to you first. Making you a GM today.
Well, listen, I think they're both really good. I'm not good at picks. I'm not ever going to give my picks out. Like, it's tough. Like, I think it really depends on what you need. Like, Paolo plays really on the box a lot. You see his athleticism right now. Jalen Green, obviously more of a wing perimeter player. So honestly, whatever my need is, I mean, they're both really good. But I mean, I don't think it's a stretch to say that Paolo Banchero is much more further along right now than Jalen Green was a year ago. And that probably speaks to Paolo Banchero came in the league. You just see his physique, his body type, like he's ready to go. He's a man already. And he can play against really any player in the league. There's obviously some stuff he needs to work on defensively, but he's there from a skill standpoint, a physique standpoint. Like he's got all the tools.
You guys have serious faces.
It's Paolo, and that's no disrespect to Jalen Green. It's more so about where the league is headed. He's 6'10" and he's a wing. He would be an entirely different position if he played this game 20 years ago. He can shoot, he can dribble, he can pass, he can be your best player on a great team. He's that good. And he's even further along than we assumed he would be. And he was the number 1 overall pick. He might be a better prospect than the big fella over there in France because he's that great. Watching him be this good this early has been fun. It's one of the better stories in the league. I'm happy we're talking about it. Again, no slight to Jalen, who averaged 17 points his rookie year. Not easy to do. He's up to 20 this year. I think eventually he can be a really strong ball handler and distribute the ball as well. He just takes tough shots, which I worry about a little bit, but his athleticism is winning him over a ton.
Chandler.
Yeah, it's Paolo to me. Every time I see a stat or a tweet or something about this kid, it's him breaking some record and comparing him to stats to LeBron James. And obviously he's on a very, very bad team, but so is Jalen Green, and they're getting a lot of reps, which I think is great for their growth. But yeah, Paolo just does more for me. He's huge. He's 6'10", 250. He can pretty much play 1 through 5. He can score in multiple ways. To me, he came in so ready. Like he came in just ready to obviously help a team be the best player on that team. And I think his future is great. Jalen's great. Jalen's exciting. Jalen's a star. Jalen's more of, a personality and like Shams said, like whatever I need, it could depend on what I have around those two guys. But to me, Paolo, you can plug into any one of the 30 teams right now, and he's going to have success just because he can do it all.
Shams, I know you've been multitasking during this entire first half of the show. So when we come back, he's going to have the latest on the Lakers roster restrictions. Plus, we are going to vote for some really important topics. Things like best in-game dunker. All of that when Run It Back comes back.
Run it up, run it back, yeah. Run it up, run it back, run it up, run it back, run it up.
We can't act like something is happening and that isn't real, you know what I'm saying? And with that, I mean, like from the way our salary is constructed, our salary cap and our budget, all the way to, injuries, guys being available, playing style, new coaching staff, and guys having to buy in to how we're playing and what we're doing. So all of that is real. And guys having to step up and play better.
I know it's a frustrating time for Lakers fans. And I'm sort of happy and sad I'm not living in LA right now to hear all the local buzz. But Shams, at this point, fans want to know what options does this team actually have as far as their roster is concerned?
Yeah, Michelle, they're 2-8 right now. Their schedule isn't really getting easier. And I'm told the organization will be prudent with their 2 first-round picks available that they have for the remainder of the decade in 2027 and 2029. I don't believe the Lakers are in a position right now to mortgage their future with those 2 available picks. So, realizing that this team is probably not going to be a championship contender, might not even be a shoo-in for the playoffs. I mean, the way that the season is going, they're probably looking at marginal changes around the edges at best. And that means trying to make deals without putting in first-round picks because as of right now, the organization seems to be moving in a direction where they're going to resist moving first-round picks if the season continues to go down this path. So for Lakers fans who are clamoring for a Buddy Hield, Miles Turner move where you're giving up 2 first-round picks or giving up multiple seconds and first, like I don't think where we see this Lakers team, it's not prudent for them to do that.
That is dark, guys. That is dark. Well, before we get to that too, is Dwight Howard, the last we saw him was last week. He was sort of pitching himself for a gig in the NBA, but he got one. And but where is it, Shams?
Yeah, he signed in Taiwan with the Taiwan Leopards. I believe I said that the right way.
You nailed it. Yep.
I'm told it's a 6-figure deal. Actually, more than 6-figure deal, 7-figure deal, $2 million deal for this season. And we just talked about it last week, right? Chandler, former teammate of his, he was trying to go for the NBA. He ends up in Taiwan. Chandler, any thoughts?
I mean, I've actually been to Taiwan with Dwight Howard and Jeremy Lin when we played on the Rockets together, and it's an incredible place, and they love their basketball over there. Would I go do that right now? At my point in my career, was no chance. He's obviously still feels like he has something left in the tank. Maybe he goes there for a little bit, shows teams that he can still compete and play. And makes a comeback next year, but the guy clearly isn't ready to hang it up, and he wants to play more. So, I support him. I think it's really cool. I think he should absolutely dominate that league. If he has any chance of wanting to come to the NBA, he needs to. But yeah, that place is wild, man. They are obsessed with basketball. They're the most passionate fans that I was ever experienced to. Oh. And it should be fun for him.
I don't think that league has ever paid a player $2 million for a season, by the way. So congrats to Dwight Howard on that, I guess. Yeah,
no pressure on that one. Eddie, I gave you like a minute and 12 seconds to simmer on this whole Lakers moves roster. Like what do you think? And I know that, and Ham talked about it too, is like realistically, what can they even do? But what is the one move they should make? They have to.
Well, if you follow me on Twitter, I've been talking about it all morning. I think Darvin Ham's absolutely correct. There's no magic move that's going to fix this team. They could probably hustle better on defense. They can make some of these wide open shots. They probably, get Thomas Bryant back and rebound a little better. There's no magic move for them. We've seen that. They've negotiated with teams all summer trying to trade Russell Westbrook. Shams has been all over it. He's been telling us step by step. It's not smart for them to trade both of those picks. They need to keep something in the coffers for when LeBron eventually retires and they have to move it to the next phase of the organization. They're right to stand still. Plus, my thing about trades and my thing about Laker fans and LeBron fans in general, the other team has to like the trade too. Nobody just wants to make the Lakers better on their own. The other team has to want to do it. We're not about to load up the Lakers just to do it. So, yeah, I mean, I think they almost have no choice but to stand pat.
The crazy thing is they're in such a bad situation they can't even tank. They don't have their pick. So like that's not an option. Which I think if they did, that would be where you start shutting down these players, because that would be the only route to go.
No question. Imagine if New Orleans gets the #1 pick this year based on Lakers struggling. Like imagine that.
I like it. I've been imagining it. Oh. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be fun to watch, Shams. I'm glad you brought it up. I know you got stuff to do. There's so many stories that are fluid and ongoing. Shams, as always, thank you. We shall speak mañana. But guys, you're sticking around because it is election day. And in honor of that, we figured, you know what? It's time to vote on a whole bunch of categories. First up, MVP right now. Okay, I want to stress right now. Eddie, Giannis, or Luka?
I'm gonna go Luka for two reasons. One, he's killing. Like I'm not gonna downplay his play. He's leading the league in scoring. He's an absolute monster. I've watched him up close once this year, and then I watched him break my heart again last night. And the other reason is because it's the MVP is a funny award. It's kind of just his turn. Like Giannis has 2. It's gonna be a lot to get him a third one. Luka needs to be anointed in this sense. And it's not that he's undeserving either.
No.
It's just like, he's killing and it's his turn. So it's just working out. I'm going to go Luka.
All right. Chandler, most improved player, Maxey or Markkanen?
To me, it's got to be Lauri Markkanen. And here's why. First of all, they're 9-3. They're first place in the Western Conference. Do they sustain that? Probably not. But yeah, also they're now getting to the point where the bottom 4 or 5 teams the last couple of years have lingered around 20 wins. They're already at 9. So at this point, I think they got to be committed. This kid here went from a high draft prospect with a lot of potential to a guy that just kind of got thrown into a trade that now is proving himself to be a valuable player who's doing it all. He's knocking down threes, he's rebounding, and he is the main reason to me why they've got off to such a hot start. People expected Maxey to be doing this. I didn't see Lauri Markkanen coming out of nowhere averaging 24, 9, and 4 and the best team in the Western Conference. So I got to go with him. No,
I would love to be a fly on the wall in the front office.
Yeah.
No, he might not have, although that's such a good moment. Such a good moment. Sixth man of the year. Eddie. Westbrook or Poole?
Between those two, I'm gonna go Russ. Russ has been killing in that role, and he's really stabilized their offense when he's on the floor. Jordan Poole's has a little bit of a down season thus far. I think he'll snap out of it, and Russ might be in another jersey when he wins this award later this season. But he's been great. Also, Benedict Mathurin in Indy and Christian Wood in Dallas. He's been amazing off that bench. But yeah, out of these two, I'm gonna go Russ.
This next one, Chandler, there is a correct answer. A better duo right now, Tatum and Brown or Steph and Clay?
Oh, come on.
I know.
By the way,
sometimes they're easy.
It's Tatum and Brown. Honestly, I think it should be Steph or Wiggins at this point on that team. But yeah, it's Tatum and Brown. I think they're the best duo in the league. They can do it all. They're so interchangeable. They score, they defend. They are to me, they've taken a huge step. They're both all-stars. Tatum's in the MVP candidate talk. Steph and Clay are great. They had a great run. They're the first and second best shooter of all time. But yeah, this one's not even close.
I agree. I think that was a gimme. Shooter, you got the game on the line. Shooter you'd want. Eddie, Dame, Steph, or I'm going to allow a prisoner of the moment right in Josh Hart. What do you have?
I was just going to say, based on last night, it'd be Josh Hart.
Love it.
I'm going to go with Steph out of these two. Dame is incredibly clutch. Like, I'm not hating on Dame at all. Their shared history together, Steph has been pretty overwhelmingly favorite between them. He's hit some big shots in his own right in his career. He's coming off one of the best finals performances of all time. So I can't, in good faith, say somebody else, but all due respect to Dame and what he does. 2 buzzer-beating, series-ending shots. He's the only player in history with that, so can't disrespect that.
By the way, the Portland Trailblazers, I don't know if you've been catching their post games with Brooke, but it's like every time now it's the person being interviewed and the entire team behind him just having a party. It is so fun to watch. I don't know how long it will last, but I hope for our sake a while. Better league pass team, Chandler, Magic or the Pelicans?
I mean, the Magic are fun with Paolo. I love watching Bol. They're young, they're exciting. But it's the Pelicans to me. I mean, with Zion, B.I., CJ McCollum, they're exciting. They have all these young guys that are so scrappy on defense. But I think obviously with the Zion factor here, I mean, Herb Jones, that dunk right there is nasty. Alvarado, he's fun to watch. He's pesty. But yeah, I mean, I think between Ja and Zion, those guys are 2 of the most exciting guys in the league to watch. So I gotta give the nod to the Pelicans here.
Okay, Eddie, you get the last one. Better in-game dunker. Is it Ja? Or would you like a write-in candidate of your choice?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the write-in. I'm going to go with Donovan Mitchell. He's such a powerful jumper off 2 feet. He's a little bit shorter than you think. Oof. And I just love a one-hand cock-back dunk like he did the first one here. I just always loved that type of dunk. It just feels powerful. It's mean. He goes right at guys. He doesn't care. The thing about Ja is he's a great dunker. But he's so slight that he ends up having to lay it up a lot. He ends up twist around guys. Ooh. Donovan will go right at your face. He hits you in the face, just like he did T. Ross right there. I love the way he dunks. It's insane.
Yeah, I could watch that all day. We got to take a quick break here. Coming up next, is Jokic still somehow, and I have no idea why, underrated? And what would you do with $1.9 billion? Don't even look at your numbers. I got it. We'll be back.
Run it up, run it back, run it up, run it back, run it up, run it back, run it up, and run it back.
But there it is. Nikola Jokic has passed Wilt Chamberlain, most triple doubles by a center in NBA history. That, of course, he was here last night in San Antonio playing the Spurs. We'll get to that. But the big thing about last night was it was a 15-game night. Everybody was in action. Of course, today being election day, it was part of the entire move for that. But guys, I mean, let's not pretend like this was good, right? Like we should have more of these nights, maybe all the time. What do you guys think?
I was wondering last night, just how rare is this? It should happen way more often. It's a little hard to keep up with, but that's why we have the iPad and the phone and the laptop and the second TV. Yeah, let's do this 10 times a month or something, whatever these guys can handle.
Yeah, usually I'm flicking back and forth between a football game or a baseball game or something. And when it's 15 games, it's just straight NBA for me. Even though college basketball started last night and my Gators were playing, it was fun. It was cool going from, channel to channel and being able to do that. And I'm doing it on my phone while I'm at a game, which is really difficult. But no, I think it's great. I think it's great for fans. I think it's great for the league.
It was fun. And they lucked out with a great night of basketball. I think there was just one blowout and everything else was good and down to the wire, including, shockingly, probably for some fans, the Denver Nuggets here in San Antonio. The Spurs putting up quite the fight. And it was a topic of conversation for us, I know, on the air. The fact that Jokic, he just goes out there. He does what he's supposed to do. He does it quietly. I know that he's mentioned it to his peeps that he wants to be the Tim Duncan of Denver, basically, which is not a bad thing to want to be. But does he get the kind of respect that he deserves at this point, Chandler? And I know you mentioned him earlier in the show. What do you think?
Yeah, listen, it's hard for me to say he's underrated because he's won back-to-back MVPs. But yeah, he's not your traditional big that dunks and blocks shots and catches lobs that people over the last decade have come accustomed to. So yes, I think he's looked at differently in a certain way. And people that really don't understand basketball or know basketball don't fully grasp how beautifully this guy plays the game. He's like a point guard out there. He's a coach out there. He's not Shaq. He's not Joel Embiid. He's not one of these physical, huge presence that's dominating the game with power. He's doing it with no looks and dropping dimes and doing it as a point guard at the center position. So underrated. I don't think he's underrated. The guy's a 2-time MVP, but he definitely is not like in conversations that he should be. He's not talked out or respected like one of the best players. Right now, we just talked about the top 5 players, and I even forgot. Like I barely put him in there, and so you definitely have this aura around him where he's not in that talk when he most certainly is.
It's tough. He's clearly a great player. He should be in these conversations. 2 MVPs. It's hard to go against that. We're talking about a guy who's made a game winner in Game 7 of the playoff series against the Defensive Player of the Year. So he's done a lot. I think it's not aesthetically what we think of when we think of the best players in the league. He's not Giannis, but man, is he good at basketball.
Yeah, it's not splashy. Guys, this just it. Can't believe I'm getting through this. There was no winner of last night's Powerball. There was a delay last night, technical and security problems, but the pot is now $2.3 billion. And I'm so excited, guys. Chandler, what are you doing first if you win?
I'm putting some of that money and I'm buying the Memphis Grizzlies or the Orlando Magic and I'm moving them to Las Vegas.
Okay. Wow, that's like a responsible thing. Eddie, you?
I'm probably buying into the Raiders and asking what Josh McDaniels is doing every Sunday, and buying a lot of sneakers.
A lot of,
but it's sports to watch.
No, you did not. You did not say a lot.
I have no choice. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm going to spend the rest of today and tomorrow just thinking about this. I'm chartering a 737. I am disappearing. Anybody who wants to go with me can come. And then all the dogs in the world will have a home. I can't wait. This is going to be a fun day. Okay, it's time for Convince Me. To win. I know, I'm giddy. I have goosebumps just thinking about it. It's time to convince me of some stuff, Eddie. Okay, sometimes you get hard ones. Sometimes you get easy one. I'm curious what you think about this. Convince me that the NBA should add a 4-point shot.
I'll go a step further.
Oh,
Rocket Jock. You took it right from me.
No.
When they used to have the 50-point basket all the way at the top, let's add that. I need my sports to be as ridiculous as possible. I'm for all of this stuff. But yeah, put a 4-point line out there somewhere and let Steph and Dame steal points every night. I also think it'd be great for late game. All jokes aside, I think it'll make late game really exciting. I always wish there was a way we could squeeze a little bit more. It's just like in football. I think they should make onside kicks way easier. Let's make late game way easier in the NBA. Let's do it.
Don't hate it. Can't imagine anyone would be against it. Maybe the players. Chandler, convince me that the Orlando Magic will win a title in 2 years?
I mean, the only way this is going to happen is if they get the number 1 pick this year and this guy Victor just turns out to be better than advertised. Paolo keeps growing and getting better. Guys like Jonathan Isaacs come back and get healthy. This is a very tall task, and this most likely is not going to happen. But I think if they can find some ways to get some free agents to pair with those young guys, and Victor and Paolo continue to be those dudes, then they have a small chance of winning a championship for the next 2 years.
You would be the worst lawyer if I was facing the death penalty. Like, I don't even want that.
Yeah, you don't want to hire me for that.
No. Eddie, convince me that He Got Game is the best basketball movie.
Yeah, if you trim like 8 minutes off this movie, it's absolutely the best basketball movie of all time. I mean, it's up there alone for the Jesus and Jake Shuttleworth basketball game at the end of this. I love this movie. I love all basketball movies. I'm like a sports movie dork, so I can't go wrong. But no, this is legitimately a great movie, and I think Ray did a good job. I know everybody rags on him in his first performance. I think he did a great job, all things considered. Now, the version of this movie that has Kobe, which Spike Lee wanted, I wish we could have seen that one too. But I think it's great. I think it's up there. I think it's up there for sure.
All right. We mentioned it. All 30 teams were in play last night, which means the fashion was perfection, including one of our own. I'm scared when Run It Back returns.
Run it back, yeah. Run it up, run it back, run it up, run it back, run it up, run it back.
All right. I love this. Jaden Ivey rocking his mom's jersey yeah, that's perfect. That is perfect, which of course means it's fashion time. Bitter Brick, and we start with a little Stephen Curry, if you will. 47-point night with a little Sour Patch. Okay.
I love Stephen Curry, but this is an awful pair of sneakers. Wouldn't mow the grass in these. I'm gonna say Brick.
Wow, wouldn't mow the grass. That's
Yeah, not only are the shoes awful, the bag is bad. That's pretty bad.
All right, this is a jewelry watch, of course, on LaMelo Ball. A lot going on. Yay or nay?
UFO chain. That's a lot of money for that.
I don't
go Brick.
Yeah, right? I feel like a nice watch is just really always the way to go.
Yeah, that's too much bling for me. This is
very
nice.
subdued for Russell Westbrook. Wow.
Honor the gift, his own clothing line. You can't hate that. That's a fit.
Yeah.
Like the plaid jeans, like the print on the jeans too. Details.
Oh my. Karl Anthony Towns. Why though? What are we doing?
I actually don't hate the
walking.
fit. I don't like the mask, but I don't hate the puffer. I don't hate the pants. Clearly,
I can't even see the other stuff. I only see the mask. Good for you. Good for you. What is he doing?
If you see me in New Jersey walking my dog, it's gonna look like that.
Mr. Rozier. Okay. It's a good color.
Can't go wrong with wheat Timbs. Cannot go wrong with wheat Timbs.
And I like the matching. I like the matching top with the bottom look.
Yeah, I don't hate this at all.
I love a good olive.
This is a fashion man right here, Kyle Kuzma. Always. It's always a show for him.
Free BG. His Brittany Griner hoodie on. That's got to be a fit.
Yeah, I like that. The big man. Very 80s. I like it.
Yeah,
I feel like
he's very retro.
I like it.
He's such a massive human being. Like, all he has is windbreakers, sweatsuits. That's all he can do.
Oh. You know what?
Yeah.
We've all been there. When you feel fat, that's all you want to wear. Although now he looks great. Oh, look at.
Hey.
Oh, good job, Chandler.
That is a tequila on the rocks in my hand. I will be this first.
There you go.
What?
Hold on, I have to know. Did you do this on purpose? The phone matched the hat. Like, are you that guy?
No. The hat is orange. The phone case is red. But yeah, that does look like that.
And what's the bevy of the evening? What do we have?
That is a tequila on the rocks.
Oh,
good choice.
God.
That's
why you left early, Chandler. That's
Tequila
why you left
rock.
early.
On
Next
a
time,
Monday.
water. So you stay.
On a Monday. Yeah.
On a Monday. You know what? No games tonight. You're going to have to spend some time with your families. I'm sorry, but that's the rule. And if you haven't done it already, make sure you guys go and vote. But we will be back tomorrow. What we will talk about, who knows? Enjoy the night.